The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. We're so glad that you joined us today. Hey, and hopefully you recognize this face. If you haven't recognized this face, you either have not been paying attention or you need to start watching some more episodes of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have today with us the one, the only, the ordained elder in the Church of the Nazarene, Pastor Brett Dillinger.
Thank you, Pastor Zack.
Welcome. Hey, and if you are watching this and you see him upright and his eyes are open, it's a good thing because you are coming off the tail end of VBS week.
Busiest week of the year?
Yes, sir. You have been running around like a madman and doing it with grace and a smile on your face.
It's very kind.
Very proud of you and all the hard work.
Thanks, man.
So we just kind of wanted to take a little time. We don't need to unpack every little detail, but we just kind of wanted to hear from the man who made it all happen. Which we'll talk about that here in a bit. But just how you think it went. Let's recap it. How you think things went. Was there some awesome moments that you want to share? Some people to highlight? You know, what are some amazing things that we saw happen from this VBS? Starting with, how many kiddos did we actually have show up? Because every time I walked in, it felt like there was quite a few kiddos here.
Yeah, so we had, before the first night, we had about 80 kids registered, and then across the week we had almost 30 more register as they were coming in to check in, just kind of walk in. So we had 109 different kids throughout the week, about 70 to 75 each night, but about 109 kids. So
that's awesome.
It was a fun time, good year.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
You know, and you look at, because there could be some people out there that are like, oh, well, you didn't even cross the 100 marker.
Yeah,
every night.
not on a single night. Nope.
But the beautiful thing is, like, the absolutely beautiful thing is like, you look at scripture and you look at stories of how many times God changed literal worlds because of one person's decision. And so, maybe you're asking yourself out there, like, what is a measure of success for us here at the church? Numbers aren't really our thing. I think, like, we don't really hang our hat too much on the numbers. Like, it's a thing, and you do have to track, and it helps you assess, like, what we're doing well, what we're not doing well. But the reality is, like, if everything we do impacts one life for the kingdom of God, like, every second of it was worth it. And so I think to have 70 kids here a night is a huge deal. It's a big deal, and that could be changing 70 kids. Well, ultimately, 109 kids, eternities forever.
Yeah.
So that's huge, man. And how many people does it take to facilitate 109 kids throughout the week? Like, that's a lot going on.
Across a week, now we didn't have this many every night because there were some folks, there was a lot of like subbing in and subbing out because it's hard to commit a full week in this day and age like that. A lot of people just don't have that much time, but thankfully we had a lot of people that were willing to help on whatever days they were available. So in total, we had about 44 people on our VBS team this year.
That's huge.
Which is a ton of people, man. And it's crazy. It's so easy. Like, I mean, if you weren't here on site to be like, what on earth did you have 44 different people doing?
Right.
But we had leaders for every 5 kids or so to guide them from station to station. We had people doing the skit. We had people running in tech. We had people leading our Bible station, our game station, our science station, our snack station. And we had people that were helping direct traffic for all the families that were coming in the doors.
Right.
So it takes a real village, man. And that's something that I feel like I've been blessed by this year. Like I felt, I'm just very appreciative by how impressed I was by the generosity of our people that were like so ready and willing to help, which is cool because it's like, I mean, we're all sharing this vision that's for the next generation. And there are a lot of people that were like, their actions were following their words as they're saying those things because they were showing up to make a special week that's dedicated just for kids. I mean, none of this was designed for grown-ups whatsoever. And so it's so cool to see. It's like it's fully sold in, sold out, all in for the kids. So it was great. I'm very thankful for the big team we have. And you're kind of hinting and poking at like, how do we measure success? And like, this is something we've been talking about in this vision framing process. And like, if you've been at our one team meetings lately, we talked about our measures of like, are we helping people take their next step with Jesus by stepping in or into community, stepping out into into the world outside of the church's walls, or stepping up in their relationship with God. And so there was times of communication with God, which is a win. There was times when we were sharing our faith with people that maybe haven't heard the good news of Jesus, which is our stepping out. And there is stepping in and loving one another, and like seeing these friendships begin and grow. Like there was a lot. I put a little question in the registration form that was like, is there anybody that your kids like should be in a group with, or maybe shouldn't be in a group with? Because that's a question that's worth asking. Yeah. And it was cool to see, like, it's always so cool to me that there are like people that say, well, yeah, I want my kid to be in a group with this person, or they invited this person, which is really cool. Like I know a lot of kids that invited people to church for the first time through VBS, which is awesome in and of itself. But then just thinking about like, this is not happening for the record, but let's say we were doing another VBS next month. Okay. I think that because of the groups that we put these kids in and the relationships that they formed and the friendships that grew, it's like, if we did this again a month from now, some of those kids would say, this person I just met, I want to be in their crew again. Yeah. Because there are these relationships that grow quite a bit. I mean, 5 days in a row is a lot of time they're spending together. They're making memories as they're sharing a table together and playing games together and hearing Bible stories together and worshiping together. They spend a lot of time together, and that's really valuable because it's these relationships that really are a cornerstone, I think, for young kids in the church. Like going through the early stages and the early days of your walk with Christ with a group of people, almost like a cohort. Yeah. Like I think about it like at a collegiate level, like people that you're trekking through a learning process together with, like is massive, man. And it makes it that much more fun to be a part of that journey. So I like just so grateful for these kids to get to make these new friendships at VBS this year. And I think there was a lot of that. So that's definitely a win. Yeah, it's huge. Because I mean, we talked about this like on the timeline of how much we're actually in church, right? And how like the reality is on a normal week, like we get like an hour with people if all we're doing is spending time on Sunday morning together. And so now you have 5 nights in a row of, 6 to 8:30, so 2.5 hours. So even just in one night, you're already over doubling the amount of time that you get to spend with these people, right? So yeah, I can imagine like these relationships, they bond quickly. Oh yeah. And I heard from both my girls every night that it was like, I made a new friend. And, they're like, oh, I was hanging out with my best friend so-and-so. I'm like, oh, who's that? Like, never heard their name. Oh, I met him at VBS. Like, they're building these relationships quickly. Yeah. And one of the things, this was, I don't know, I feel like just kind of a nudge from the Lord in the planning process, because I went back and forth trying to decide if for the crews we put the kids in, if we were going to make it age specific or like a range of ages in a crew. Because our preschoolers did their own thing because some of their crafts and activities needed to be more specifically like niche and designed for their age. Right. But for our K through 5, I was trying to decide, are we going to have like 2 kindergarten groups, 2 first grade, or like 10 K through 5 groups. Right. And I opted for the mixed ages and just felt like that was what the decision that the Lord was leading me towards. And there were a lot of times that I was affirmed in that decision this past week, because like there was just some really cool stuff where I was hearing from volunteers. They're like, hey, I don't know if you've ever noticed before, but this 5th grader that you have, like, they're definitely a leader. Like I was seeing them leading the little kids, and I'm like, that's exactly what you want to see. And it's cool because you're talking about the new friendships that your kids make, and being with kids of different ages is naturally going to push them to do that, because we like naturally gravitate towards kids that are or people that are our age for our friendships. So kind of pushing them outside of that helps them to develop relationships that they wouldn't normally do just naturally. So that was really, really cool to see. And it's always super cool. I mean, when you do something with kids as a grown up, naturally we're leading them, but then to see them leading each other is like a whole different thing, man. It's so cool. Oh, it's so rewarding. And that's what we are called to do. Yeah. Is like to make disciples that make disciples. Exactly, right? Man. And I feel like we often forget that happens with our kids, especially with our kids. When we think like make disciples, we think like, oh, well, I need to find an adult who's now going to do a Bible study. No, the reality is like you are making disciples out of these kids every single day. Yeah. And to see that happening is a big deal. Like that's, to me, another huge win. So that's a huge blessing. And I know that's something my kids
have greatly benefited from being in groups of kids, not specifically just their age. Like this might not, this isn't specific to VBS, but I think of my daughters were part of the aftercare program here at school.
Yeah.
And that's, the whole school, right?
Yeah, right.
And I remember walking out one day and I went to pick up Lark, who's my 8-year-old, was over hanging out with like these middle school kids. I'm like, oh boy, like this, in my head, my pessimism, I'm like, they better not be picking on my kid. Like, do I need to go like beat some kids up, right? And I go over, and next thing I know, I'm like, hey, Lark, it's time to go. And every single one of these like middle school kids gives her a hug and a high five, and she comes up with this big smile on my face or on her face, and she's like, Daddy, like I hung out with the big kids, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then the next day I went and picked her up. Shout out to Jacob Bush, our head of school.
Oh yeah,
and all his kids, like. His older kids were the ones that were like, we were leaving and they're like, bye, Lark, and like ran up and giving her a hug. And like that made my kid feel like she was on top of the world.
100%.
And to see our kids stepping up to lead it's a big deal. Like,
it's really
huge.
cool, man.
And it's a big deal for me because it's directly impacting my kids. But speaking of kids and having fun and leading, right? I think it has to be kind of highlighted that though this is for our kids and our kids were having a ball, as a parent who was dropping off my kid, I couldn't help but notice that I was watching our adults have quite a bit of fun too.
Oh yeah.
I love walking in and seeing adults of all age ranges too. This wasn't just like, you and I are adults. You're in your 20s. I'm in my 30s. Like we're adults, but I'm talking people from their 20s all the way up to their 60s and 70s, and they're doing the motions with kids and smiling and laughing and high-fiving. And like I think that some of the adults were having just as much fun, if not more fun than a lot of the kids that were in there too. And to me, that shows one, just something I love about your leadership. You're not the kind of guy that just like tells people what they have to do. And it's, for example, like I don't see you go into a meeting, like, like a pre-service thing. It's like, all right, guys, buckle up. Like we got to get through this tonight, just put a smile on and let's just get to 8:30, But you come in with this level of excitement that's like, guys, we get to do this with our kids. Like this is going to be so fun. This is going to be a good time. And that truly has carried over into the way that I see our people lead our kids. So I just want to commend you on that because that's a big deal. But truly, as a dad, there was two things that I loved, during drop-off is I get to look in and see all the kids having fun and the adults leading them in having fun. It wasn't just like, come on, get up, we got to sing. It was like, come on, let's do this thing, let's have fun. To the point where my kids, like, I didn't even really get a goodbye. Like they would come in. The only time I ever had one of my kids run back is Olive, and she's just a space cadet sometimes, and she couldn't find her group leader, and so she was just like, I can't find my group leader. And I was like, you're in group 1, right? There's your sign. She's like, okay, bye, and just took. They wanted nothing to do with me, man. They were like, funny. We're here to have fun. And I think the other thing that I noticed too, and I love during drop off. And this is another cool thing that when we talk about community and like getting to do stuff with other people is even at drop off, like I got to talk with parents that I don't get to talk to on a regular basis. And even we were talking about like ours for Kelly,
yeah.
Kelly, she was back there holding the baby and dancing. And I don't often get to, like even say hi to her on Sunday because I'm busy doing worship stuff. But even just like poking fun to her, like she was back there doing the motions with the baby. I'm like, girl, looks like you need to get up there and do those things. And she had said like, oh, my kid she's having so much fun. She wanted me to stick around and watch her do the motions because she's so proud of it.
Yeah.
And to see like, get to hang out with Maddie Lang and all these other dads who I've, recognized and built small relationships from Upward Basketball, and just to reconnect through that. It was just such a cool, beautiful thing that it wasn't just building relationships with kids, but it allowed me to have this little opportunity too, to be like, oh, I haven't talked to you in a while, man. How you doing? And have this cool little connection point. I love that.
It was, VBS, I feel like is just like a window into like all the possibility that there is in kids ministry. And like, I'm trying to be intentional this year to like talk to the adults that helped at VBS, because like, there's so much joy that they experience in this week. And I'm like, this is something an opportunity for you. There is an opportunity for you to invest in the next generation all the time here at church. And it is so much fun and it's so rewarding. And like you said, just the chances to sing and dance and have fun with the kids. And like, I was talking to the team before the first night and I was like, listen, all the way up, and I felt this kind of leading the charge on this, all the way up until this night, there has been a lot of work.
Right.
There has been a lot of overtime hours put in.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Right. And so like that was a lot of hard stuff. But tonight and right now, it's time for us to flip the switch because we're not in the work mode anymore.
Right.
Now is our time to worship with these kids, to learn with these kids, to play with these kids. And sure, logistically and administratively, there are going to be some bumps. There are going to be some issues throughout the week.
Right.
But just try and roll with it and be flexible because there is so much fun to be had together this week. And they did such a fantastic job. There were a couple times, like naturally it's going to happen that things went sideways. But I was just telling them, I'm like, there's so many things that you can get distracted by. If we have 5 kids show up and all of the decorations we spent so much time on all fall down tonight and there's nothing here tomorrow.
Right.
Let's just try and have an awesome week with these kids because that's what it was all about at the end of the day. And they did such a fantastic job. And I think like, I just want so many people to get to experience that. I think it's so similar when we go to like kids camp, being a chaperone at kids camp, you get to see these kids experience things for the first time, go fishing for the first time and catch a fish, go out on a paddle boat ride with them and just talk and just listen because a lot of these kids just need a space to talk to. And man, it's just so much fun. Yeah. And I hope people get to see this in VBS. And I mean, I put a sign out on Sunday. Maybe this was ambitious, but I'm like, listen, if you want to help next year, because you get to see all of the things that happened this past week at VBS. And it's just, I feel like it's just teasing to say like, look what we did. It's already over. You missed it. So I'm like, if you want to help next year, like, let me know if you saw the set and you're like, oh, that's so cool. I have so many fun ideas. And like, I like to work with my hands. There were a couple of people that told me that they're like, put me down on the list for next year. And I'm like, for sure, man, you're going to love it. It's going to be a great time. Or if you're like seeing our crew leaders up there dancing with the kids during the service on Sunday morning, you're like, man, they look like they're having a blast. They are. And they had a great time this past week. Let me know because it's something that I want people to get to experience. So I'm glad they got to experience VBS this year, but I'm also grateful for them and their commitment because I mean, a week's a lot of time. So I appreciate all of the help that we got.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big deal.
Shout out to everybody who's been helping out. And with that being said, I think we can, maybe end on this, but like you said, it takes a village. And you had mentioned last time we did a podcast leading up to VBS. It's like, it's when I think VBS, as just a bystander, right? Sure. I think of all those jobs. It's like, okay, I'm directly, walking with a group of kids every night. I'm up on a platform dancing around, I'm doing all these things that are like forward facing and maybe that's not my personality. But the reality is there were so many things that happened behind the scenes, even throughout the whole week. It wasn't just set building, right? Which we have amazing people that help out with that. And I think of people like Susan.
She was awesome.
She's a rock star, and Susan's family are just filled with rock stars who, their brains are so creative, and then they're able to like something I envy about that whole family, which just I wish I could do it, is like they have an idea in their head and they know how to make it happen with their hands.
Yeah,
like I'm so envious of this. Like how many times Susan's come in with some cool like trinket or a piece of art or something, and I'm like, that's really cool. Like, where'd you? Oh, I made that. I was like, oh, cool. You came up with the idea. She's like, yeah, and then I like created it. Like, I 3D printed this or painted this. I'm just like, how do you do this?
There was this movie that came out not too long ago, and I didn't see it, but I got the premise from the trailer. It was like this guy that had like a magic crayon, and whatever he drew just came to life. Right. And I'm like, that's what it feels like. They got an idea, they go home, and I'm like, you literally could have only had time to draw this with a crayon, and all of a sudden you have a 6 foot wide flower that is blacklight reactive. I'm like, what is going on? They're awesome.
Insane. Yeah, it's insane. I love it. But one thing I wanted to highlight, and then I'll let you take it over because you got to be hands-on with these people. There was a post I saw on Facebook, right, from some of our ladies who were the snack crew.
Oh, yeah.
And I love what it said about like the post itself. It's like, yeah, we made snacks, like snack thing. That was our time. But the post was literally saying like, I enjoyed spending so much time with these ladies this week and like really getting to serve with them and know them and laugh with them. And like there was so much more than just making snacks. And, you know, that's a behind the scenes thing. But man, they got so much joy out of that. And they got to like do life together and have meaningful conversations. And that just like blessed my socks off because I'm seeing, you know, so often with behind the scenes stuff. And that's something I experience all the time with like working directly with tech people. They do the most things that never get noticed or seen. And so when you think of something like snack that's, you know, and as selfishly as a parent who might not, you know all the ins and outs of stuff, it's like, well, yeah, you should have a snack for my kid. You know, it's like you got them right around dinner time and they're not going to be there till bedtime. Like they need a snack. But not only did they provide snacks, but they were having meaningful conversations, praying during their times of making snack. And then they were fun, creative snacks too.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't just like, here's a couple goldfish, make it happen. You know, my kids were coming home telling me about like, yeah, we built this thing out of our snack food. I'm like, what? So it's crazy. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens. So like, if I had missed anything, like what are some ways that you saw people that are behind the scenes, but like truly making an impact?
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel bad even starting because I'm afraid I'm going to miss some. But yeah, the ladies that helped with Snack did a wonderful job. And I think the Facebook post that you're referencing, she said she was honored to serve alongside the women. And it was really cool. And the Snack ladies, one of the things that I can say about them was I was like, here's the things that you'll need. And they're like, all right, cool. We got it. We'll see you tonight. And I'm like, well, and they're like, you already gave us the instructions. We're good. Just go. And I'm like, okay. And they came, and you're right. They went above and beyond because they brought things back so well prepared and they worked on it together. And that's really cool. And then they showed up and they didn't just give the kids snack. Like you said, they prayed with them. And I walked in there one time and they were singing like This Little Light of Mine with the kids. I'm like, this is a snack station. They're breaking out in song. This is awesome. But yeah, the first night we talked about God is our creator, and they had the cuppa creation, which they had. It was so cool. They had this green, like a little bit of cake mix that had green food coloring in it that looked like land, like grassy land. And they had blue jello for the sea, and then a little whipped topping on top for the sky. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's
it was
awesome.
sick. But yeah, they did an awesome job. I think about our games leaders too, Stephen and JR, they did an awesome job with that. And it's really cool for me as a pastor to see the people of our church take ownership in things too. And like Stephen and JR did a great job with that. They were like, all right, so we're going to do this game, but we got an idea to make it better. Do you perchance have this? And I'm like, yes, and yes, let's do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's
and the
huge.
kids were like, so bought in on it. And there was one time when I was out at the check-in table and there were a couple kids came out at the end of their rotation. And I'm like, was it a water game? No, it wasn't. They're just drenched in sweat because they were playing hard. It was hilarious.
That's
I'm like,
epic.
Love it. So cool. And Brad and Sarah were here for, they ran the Bible station and they did a great job. I love the Bible station every year. I like peek my head in the back door just to listen for a little while. And it always cracks me up because there's lots of opportunities for them to ask questions to the kids, to engage with them. And the answers were just hilarious. And they did such a good job of tying it back into the message. But yeah, and there were just a lot of people that I think about our pre-K leaders, AJ and Danny and Carol and Clarissa. They all did a great job of like, this is our space. And they like took ownership of what they were going to be doing and wanted to make it the best as possible for the kids. And those kids would go home every night just talking about the best time they ever had. And they did a great job decorating their classrooms. I felt like I was in a different world. And it was so cool. You're talking about Jacob Bush and Quinn and Jordan were helping me before VBS get decorations up. They were major help in Jacob too. And there was this one moment where the Monday, just before VBS started, they were walking down the hallway, and I left one of the pre-K doors open that was decorated, and they stopped, and they're like, whoa, what is going on in here? Because it was like a portal into another world.
Right.
And I'm like, man, we just have a great team, and very grateful for them. And because they made the week for the kids, and I hope they know that. I probably need to do a better job communicating that, but I'm very grateful for all of them.
Yeah, I love it. Well, to me, this is an opportunity for a challenge for anybody listening to this, because VBS is an amazing week of our year. It's an amazing week.
Yeah.
But the reality is ministry for our kids happens every single week. And the fun that you had with VBS, gets to happen every single Sunday.
It does.
And there's opportunities for people to serve every single week. And so maybe you came into VBS kind of like, wondering maybe this is not for me. And you had a blast. The opportunity to do that every single Sunday exists. And so my challenge is to take some time to pray.
Yes.
And ask yourself, is this God's nudge of pushing me to work with our kids? And I can confidently say that Pastor Brett will welcome you with loving arms to help on Sunday morning.
I would be so excited for you to join.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Well, I think it's a perfect place to wrap it up, a challenge to leave us all with. Pastor Brett, thank you so much for joining me today and for an amazing week of VBS. I know selfishly as a dad, my kids had so much fun. And so thank you for an amazing time. And you know what? Here's another challenge. If your kids had a great time, let Pastor Brett know. Let the team know. We want to encourage our pastors and all the volunteers who made VBS what it is. So maybe take some time, shoot them a Facebook message, write them a note, step by the church and give them a high five. But if you had fun, we want to know about it. We love you. Have an amazing rest of the day.
Bye.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.